Hi, this is Lanier Smith from Sense Memory, and it's tea time here at Chez Lanier. You can see I'm having some butter biscuits and some English afternoon tea. Really, really good. So look, I have been tagged by the wonderful Sebastian of Man Loves Cologne to name my Hall of Famer. So stay tuned and we'll find out what perfume or fragrance I chose. See you in a bit. Those butter biscuits are really good. So, as I said, I was tagged by Sebastian to name my Hall of Fame fragrance. But before we get into that, you may wonder where I am. I'm in my kitchen, in my movie star kitchen, as you can see. And some people have asked me about who these people are in the photograph. So I'm going to point out who is who. Up here, this is Rita Hayworth, famous for Gilda. Here is John Gilbert. He was a star in the 20s. Down here we have the wonderful Betty Davis. Over here we have none other than Marlene Dietrich, the Blue Angel. Here we have a great star who started in the 20s and was in films all the way into the 60s and won an Oscar for his wonderful portrayal in High Noon, and that would be Gary Cooper. And at the top is the beautiful and quite smart Hedy Lamarr, who, if it weren't for her, we wouldn't have cell phones. She actually was part of the reason that cell phones were created for one of her inventions. You could look that up on Google. And right here we have, of course, Elizabeth Taylor. Now these two photographs are very interesting in the fact that they are original photographs taken by Roddy McDowall, 20 years apart. The top picture is from 1964 and the bottom picture is from 1984. And how I came to have these original prints was that Roddy McDowall was having them printed off at a photography company here in San Francisco, and my roommate at the time worked there, and these were two that were rejected by McDowall, and so my roommate pinched them and gave them to me. So enough about my movie star kitchen. Back to the matter at hand, and that is what fragrance has my heart, my vote as the Hall of Famer, one I would put in the Hall of Fame. Now you probably have heard me talk about how I got into fragrance, and that was because of, like many of us, our mothers. And my mother always wore, from as long as I can remember, Chanel No. 5. Now, this was something that was given to her every year in a very, very small bottle by an uncle of mine. My mother, my aunt, and my grandmother each received a little bottle of Chanel No. 5, and they waited for that all year long. They treasured the bottle they got each year, and they nursed it and kept it until it was right about December 24th at the very last drop. So that was my introduction to perfume through Chanel No. 5. Many, many, many years later, my first year at college, away from home, and it was Thanksgiving, and I came down from the school I went to up north to the Bay Area, and I was staying with friends in Berkeley, and I was in a little pharmacy here over in Berkeley, and I was looking around, and in those days, this particular company, for a very short time, carried this perfume in drugstores. They only did it for a little while, and then they pulled their stuff out of drugstores because they wanted to be much more high-end. But I saw this little bottle, and it cost $25. It was probably, in those days, $25 was equivalent probably to at least $90 for a kid in college. And it was my allowance for food and odds and ends that I would need for that month. But there was no question. When I smelled it and I made the connection that this was by the same company that made the perfume that my mother loved and that I loved as a child, I had to get Pour Monsieur. Pour Monsieur by Chanel was created in 1955 by Henri Roubert. Henri Roubert was the second in-house perfumer for Chanel after Ernst Beau. And Roubert was also famous for creating Glamour and Rampage for the House of Bourgeois, which he worked at before he became the in-house perfumer for Chanel. He also made for Chanel, and he worked for Coty. He made Les Muguets des Bois. And when he went to Chanel, he also made number 19, and he made this wonderful one in 1955 for men. It was the very first men's fragrance for the House of Chanel. Now this is an Oriental Fougere, and it is just stunning. It has notes of lemon verbena, peony, vetiver, ginger, oak moss. It's packed full of wonderful, wonderful notes, and it is unsurpassed as a great classic fragrance by this house, and by any house in my book. Now, the thing is about this fragrance for men is that it is a classic. It is a bar. It set the bar for incredibly sophisticated fragrances for men. It still is wonderful. It is very modern. This, of course, is not the original 1955 formula, but it still is beautiful. When I got this after many years of not having it, first time I smelled it, it's almost exactly the same. It is so incredible. Of course, the flanker that came after it was a Pour Monsieur Concentré, which is nice, and was my signature scent for a long time after I couldn't find this one. But now that this is back home where it belongs, this one is my Hall of Famer. So, who am I going to tag for the Hall of Fame fragrance? I'm going to choose, I don't know if she's done it, but I'm going to choose Natalie Patel. Now Natalie, if you've done it, if you've picked a woman's, pick a men's. If you've picked a men's, pick a woman's. And if you've already done it, we'll move on. The other person I would like to tag for this would be the wonderful Super Jacob, who does wonderful, wonderful perfume reviews. I have an idea what he might choose as his Hall of Famer. But Jacob, let's see if I'm right or wrong. In the meantime, this is Lanier Smith from Sense Memory saying, remember, wear what you love and not what they say you like. Cheers.